William Miller is not a particularly attractive man. Short, with thinning hair, even though he hasn't yet turned 40, somewhat heavier than he should be, undoubtedly a result of the stress-filled life he leads. However, he is extremely intelligent and charming. Besides being immensely wealthy, with a fortune that came from his family, which he has increased even further. Of course, his wife is absolutely stunning, just like all the women at the party. It was no coincidence that the invitations were not given to just anyone. Although there were much more appealing and interesting men at the party, Marie was glad she ended up with William. Not because she had any preference for him, in fact, she didn't even know him, although she was friends with his wife. But the fact that he wasn't particularly attractive would surely help her get through the situation she knew she would have at home the next day, after the conversation they had just moments ago. She had tried to avoid Alex until the time of the draw, but he ended up realizing what was going on and confronted her. She knew she was in the wrong, that she had lied to drag him along, having tempted him with promises throughout the night. Of course, none of the promises she made were in vain. He was going to end the night with someone who, judging by conversations with her friends, whoever it was, would do everything possible to enjoy it. As she had said, the lucky one he ends up with should enjoy it because I doubt this will happen again. But she knew that his expectation wasn't any of the others, but rather herself. When Alex told her they were leaving and she saw the look in his eyes, she doubted for a moment and was almost ready to give in, but then the voice announcing the draw came. And then there she was. If she went back, it would be a disappointment for everyone who had built expectations around both of them. If she moved forward. After seeing the completely furious expression in his eyes, which grew colder as her refusals continued, she knew the coming times would be difficult, and that she would have to rise to the occasion to restore their relationship. But she knew he loved her, and she would do whatever it took to erase the pain she saw in his eyes. That's why she was happy that when her number was announced, it was William waiting for her in the center of the room. Being arranged by draw, there would be even fewer reasons for his jealousy to linger. When he said to her, "Don't do this," with almost hate in his eyes, her resolve faltered. Inside, a small voice told her that none of this was right. But it was too late, they were expecting her, and she knew that tomorrow would begin a long road. Or maybe not. Maybe he would end up having a spectacular experience and it would become easier. Who knows? They might even return to one of these parties another time. But at that moment, looking at his face, she couldn't help but wonder if she was making the worst mistake of her life. "In a bit, your number is going to be called, you'll leave here with someone, you're going to have a night with a different experience, and tomorrow, when we talk, you'll see that this will only bring us closer," she ended up saying, turning her back and walking toward William without looking back. She knew that if she did, she would probably stop everything right there. She didn't see her husband turning pale and dizzy, having to hold onto a wall to avoid falling, the grimace of pain on his face as he brought his other hand to his chest, the cold sweat starting to run down his forehead, his quickening breath. She only saw the look of happiness and desire in William's eyes and felt powerful. She approached William and gave him a soft kiss on the lips. For the first time since she met Alex, she felt the lips of another man, and the sense of doing something forbidden sent a shiver of excitement down her spine. She continued without looking at Alex and didn't see that as she left the room, he was slowly turning into a statue with a murderous gaze. She left the mansion and was taken to William's Maserati. They didn't talk much during the ride, but she felt his longing gaze. Feeling his hand casually resting on her thigh was strange at first, but the sensations of desire and lust she felt overpowered her rationality. However, the rational part was still there, as was the concern. When she received the message from Lisa saying that she had been the chosen one, she breathed a little more calmly. Lisa was undoubtedly one of the most attractive women she knew. It wasn't just the proportions of her body, her angelic face, or her beautiful hair that seemed made of liquid fire, it was also her poise, her class. She had seen some of the most powerful men left speechless by her. Alex would be incapable of rejecting her. Wouldn't he? She texted her to ask how things were going. Lisa replied that they were in the car, on their way to her house, but that she was somewhat disappointed because he didn't seem at all like the man she had always described. On the contrary, he seemed to be completely ignoring her, which was leaving her confused. They arrived at William's house, a mansion in the suburbs as well, much more discreet than the Perrys, but still enormous. They entered, and William went to get 2 glasses of champagne. They toasted, drank. William wasted no time and enveloped her in a languorous kiss, but she couldn't let herself go, thinking about how things were going. However, to avoid distractions, she turned off her phone and tried to immerse herself in the moment. This was an escape from reality. Reality would return tomorrow. William's tenderness was extreme as he kissed her and slowly undressed her. His eyes, filled with desire, told her how much this man wanted her now. He slid her dress down to her feet, leaving her almost gloriously naked, just wearing the lingerie Alex had given her, which she had only worn for him once. A thought crossed her mind: I should have chosen another set, but this was perhaps the most daring lingerie she had. William pulled her onto the bed, kissing her all over while peeling off the remaining clothing, and when he completed the task, he glued his mouth to her sex, provoking a wave of pleasure that completely lost her, and they stayed like that for quite a while, leading her to an intense orgasm. They exchanged oral caresses for some time until he ended up taking her gently and softly. But they evolved throughout the night, building trust in each other, and when they made love for the last time, he took her forcefully, dominating her, and she enjoyed it with an intensity she hadn't felt since her early years with Alex. She was still descending from the 7th heaven when William took a quick shower, and she waited to go next when she turned her phone back on and saw she had a new message from Lisa sent just a few minutes ago. She called immediately. Marie, I was just calling to tell you I'm on my way home. Already? What happened? There was a huge silence on the other end, something that started to worry her. He didn't know what he was getting into when he went with you, did he? Her heart skipped a beat. No, he didn't know. And you decided to do this anyway? Are you crazy? Do you know what you risked? What do you mean by that? I mean that if I was in your position, I would never risk losing this man over a night of meaningless sex. Lisa's words hurt. What happened? He didn't. Look, I thought his attitude was strange. When I went to him in the middle of the room, he didn't even seem to see me coming. He was pale and had a look as if he was ready to take everyone out. I approached him to give him a kiss, and even then, he didn't react. He didn't even look at me. Can you believe he didn't even look at me? The first reaction he had was when I grabbed his arm and pulled him, but all the way, he seemed completely absent. Even the little conversation I managed to have with him was little more than monosyllables or vague answers. Then we arrived at your house. He put the car in the garage and got out. He left me in the car as if he didn't even remember I was there. I started to realize that not only did he not know, but he didn't want any of this. I went to the bathroom, tried to call you, but your phone was off. I thought I really had to try to seduce him, otherwise, things were going to go very wrong for you today. Marie listened to Lisa's words and felt her heart tightening. And then, what happened? She asked, already afraid of the answer. Then I took off the dress, took a deep breath, and went back to the living room. I entered the room in lingerie and heels. You know there's no hot-blooded man in the world who wouldn't jump on me at that moment. But he didn't even look at me. He was sitting in the armchair, drinking his 2nd or 3rd dose of whiskey since we arrived, staring at the wall, but completely absent. It wasn't that I wasn't there. He wasn't. Marie felt her heart tighten. What had she done? And then? Well, then I stood in front of him, and only then did he seem to notice my presence. He made an expression. I've never seen anything like it. It looked like disgust. I've never felt so small and insignificant in front of anyone. I knelt in front of him, started to caress his legs. He didn't stop me, but he seemed completely indifferent. I climbed up on him, began to unbutton his shirt, but he continued to show no reaction, not even looking at me. He only moved to bring the glass to his lips. Can you believe I kissed his whole body, and he didn't even react? Oh my God. No. Only when I told him that you were out somewhere enjoying your night and that he should do the same did he react. He suddenly grabbed me and kissed me in a way that left me completely breathless. But it was strange. There was no passion, no excitement, no lust. He picked me up, took me to the bedroom, threw me onto the bed as if I were a doll, finished taking off his shirt and pants, grabbed my panties with his hand and ripped them off me, and turned into a real animal. Marie's conscience calmed upon hearing this. He hadn't resisted. They were on equal footing. This was going to make the day easier. Who knows, maybe even make the future easier. It was strange, Lisa continued. No one had ever taken me like that. He didn't give me a chance to do anything, there were no caresses, kisses, foreplay. He fucked me for 3 hours with such intensity. Not that I'm complaining. Honey, in my 37 years of life, I've never had such an intense experience. In fact, I've never had so many orgasms. But then he finished, left me in the room, went back to the living room naked, refilled his glass of whiskey, and sat back down in the armchair, staring at nothing and drinking. I wanted to stay until morning, as usual, but I realized it was pointless to stay. I got dressed and called a cab, telling him I was leaving. He even asked if I wanted him to take me, but I thought it was better not to. He had drunk a lot, but he seemed completely sober, as if the alcohol was passing through without affecting him. And now I'm on my way home. And what are you going to do? Fernando must still have company. I'll sneak into the office and sleep on the couch for a bit. They won't even notice me. But what about you? What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm relieved he was with you, believe me. Otherwise, I would have had hell to deal with. But even so, I think I won't come back to any of these parties. I think it will be lucky to get anything from him in the coming times. Can I say something to you without you taking it the wrong way? Lisa asked hesitantly. Of course. Marie, why did you risk everything for so little? Marie thought for a while. It was a good question. Maybe it would have been helpful if someone had asked her this before. Now that the feelings had calmed, what had she gained from this experience? Very little. Perhaps only the certainty that her husband is, without a doubt, the only man she wants in her life. And did she need to go through this to have that certainty? Did she need to hurt him so deeply? She knew the answer. No, if you want me to tell you, today, after everything. I don't know. But I know that if I could go back a few hours. Now it's too late. I think it will take years for you to regain his trust, if you ever do. Yeah, you're right. But believe me, I will never, ever give him any reason to doubt me again. We will get through this. I really hope so, honey. Now I have to go, I'm arriving at my front door. Go. We'll talk later, after we rest. Kisses. And they hung up. William returned to the bedroom, lying down next to her, and noticing her expression, he asked, "Is everything okay?" She forced a smile and replied, "It will be."